Hello and welcome to Rathod Science Academy. Today in this session we are going to see current affairs of 4th November 2025. So let's get started with our discussion, guys. Before getting started, let us see the topics of the day. So first topic, it is about 19 dead as truck rams bus near Hyderabad. So this article is important from your disaster management from GS paper 3 and even from ethics from GS paper 4 point of view. Our next topic is shift focus to nutrition security. Our Prime Minister tells scientists. So our Prime Minister, he attended one conclave, and in this conclave, he made a lot of changes regarding nutrition of our country. So that topic is important from your governors from GS paper 2. Our next topic is Great Nicobar Project, map ready for denotification of tribal reserve. So you already know about what is this Great Nicobar Project. So just you have to focus on what is this denotification of tribes. And this topic is important from environment and ecology and as well as GS paper 2 under governance point of view and society point of view also it is very important. Our next topic is heavy metals found in Kaveri fish. Study advises reducing consumption. So this article is talking about biomagnification and biotoxification, and this topic is important from your environment and ecology which comes under GS paper 3. Our next topic is, you already know that women win this World Cup. So that is about this article. It is from governance point of view. So these are the topics of the day. And apart from this, most of our articles are based on this first topic in our today's newspaper. So we are going to cover almost all the dimensions regarding that. Okay, look at the title, guys. Read out the title clearly, everyone. 19 dead as truck rams bus near Hyderabad. So what is this article talking about? It's talking about one major bus accident, right? Okay, so this article is talking about bus accident and how many died? Around 19 dead. Okay, so whenever there is any loss of life, loss of infrastructure, loss of property, then that will comes under which subject? That will comes under disaster management, which is part of your GS paper 3, guys. So what you have to see is, first of all, you have to see the location of accident. Second one is you have to see whether it is a national highway or not. If it is national highway, what is that national highway? Look at that. And third important thing you have to see, what are the causes of this accident now. And fourth important thing that you have to see is impact of this accident. And actually this article is also important from your ethics. So we have to see ethical dimensions also regarding this bus accident. And in future, if you want to go to control this kind of accidents, what kind of measures we can take or what is a way forward? So we have to think from all these dimensions, guys. So here from this topic you may get prelims and as well as mains based question. So prelims question you can get from this Hyderabad Bijapur highway, guys. Okay, and apart from that, almost all these dimensions you can expect the question from your mains point of view, not from prelims. Only you can expect question from this national highway regarding prelims, and the remaining all other dimensions are from your mains. And not only you may get direct mains question from this topic, and even you may get a case study in your ethics related to this bus accident. And as you all know that recently bus accidents are seen in news. So recently in AP, bus fire accident happened. Many were died, right? So because of this, there is a very high chance of getting a question in your mains related to disaster management. Especially, they can ask this road accidents dimension. Okay, so even if you are getting any case study or if you want to write any mains answer, you have to even focus on the data regarding road accidents in India. How many road accidents are happening? Okay, so now let us see this article in all these dimensions. So here a tragic head-on collision occurred between bus and a truck. Especially in which area? It is in Chevella in Rangareddy district in Telangana. So if you see that road, it will be like a very, very small road. So actually it is a highway. But even though it is a highway, it is not exactly even two-way also. Why? Because on the two sides of these roads, there were big banyan trees, and those banyan trees are belonging to this Nizam era. At that time, during the Nizam time, to provide shade for the travelers on this road, they were planted, and now they are having around 200 years old of age like that. So because of this, now what is happening here is, if we want to go for extension of this highway from 2-way to 4-way, then what happened, we have to clear the trees on this both sides of the road. So whenever they are coming up with this kind of thing, so here NGOs are coming and NGOs are filing petitions to National Green Tribunal, and National Green Tribunal is not giving permission for extension of this road. So this project has been continuously stalled from 2019, and in 2025, like 3 to 4 days ago only, everything is resolved, and they have started this extension of this road project. Just 2 to 3 days happened, but in this time only, so this kind of accident happened in that region, guys. So here you can see this article from environment versus development point of view, guys. Okay, so here these NGOs are fighting for saving of banyan trees. They are saying that they are our heritage. So how can we go for cutting down of the trees in case of extension of road? And if you want to go for improving of road safety, and if you want to save the lives of people, obviously you have to cut down that banyan trees, and we have to extend these roads. And actually it is not for the first time that this kind of road accident happened in that area. So last year also in this area, the major accident happened, and if you see the data from 2019 to 2025, many a times accidents were happened in the same road. But even though government is trying to extend this project, but NGOs are stopping this by filing petitions in this NGT, and finally they got clearance recently. But before completion of this project itself, one more accident happened here, and it is a very big major accident now. Okay, now let us see the details of this road accidents. Every year in India, around 1.5 lakh lives annually. That means there is a loss of around 1.5 lakh people, especially on this road accidents. And Telangana in our country is ranking high in fatalities. Why? Because in Telangana we don't have proper highway design. So if you go on a highway, normally we will be having different curves, and even there is no proper enforcement of laws. So enforcement is nothing but implementation plus punishment. So these two are the combination of enforcement, guys. So implementation delays we know, but even though if there is no proper implementation, if someone is violating that laws, they need to get proper punishment. Implementation delays plus punishment is called as enforcement. So always there are enforcement lapses in our state, and apart from that, what are the projects we are going to come up, the project will be delayed, and not only that, quality issues will be there. So especially during this monsoon season, if you go on roads, if you travel on roads, we'll be having potholes. So actually this accident which mainly happened because of a pothole actually. So actually that truck which is carrying this gravels is nothing but small stones which are mainly used for building activities, construction. In Telugu we'll call it as kankara. So actually it is carrying that gravels, and it is moving. So to divert a pothole, that entire vehicle went out of control of the driver, and that went and hit this bus which is coming on the opposite way. And actually because of this collision, it didn't cause that much damage, but what happened was, whatever the gravels which were carried by this tipper went into this bus. So because of this, people went down under this gravel. So that led to the difficulty now. Even it is very difficult to find out the bodies and the people under these gravels. So that became a major challenge now in this incident, guys. If you see some facts regarding this Hyderabad Bijapur highway, you may get question on this. It is National Highway 163, and it is going to connect Chhattisgarh to Rawalpalli. It is nothing but Telangana Karnataka border. So from Chhattisgarh to Telangana Karnataka border, this highway it is connecting, and it is mainly passing through some important areas like Warangal, Hyderabad, Moinabad, Chevella, Maneguda, Kodangal in Telangana region, and this accident happened in this Chevella region right now. And why this project was being came up, actually why government wants to come up with this highway project is, whatever the lane which is there now, it is like two-way lane, it is around 7 meters, and they want to increase that to 4 lane. Why? If you are improving our infrastructure, if you are improving our roadways, obviously we can improve trade, we can also improve tourism, and not only that, we can also focus on improving of safety on this road as well. So because of these reasons, now government came up with this project, but continuously from 2019 onwards there are delays. Okay, and why they are going to come up with this project, the exact reason here is, so in this area we have quarries, especially we have this limestone related quarries in this region, and heavy duty trucks will pass through this region, and according to estimates around 20,000 vehicles they will travel in this route. So if you are not providing proper safety, can we ensure the safety for the lives of the people? No. So for that they are coming up with this project, guys. And here, whenever you're reading ethics, you'll be coming across this kind of ethical dilemmas. Ethical dilemma is a condition that you have two things to do, but you cannot compromise on anything. That kind of situation is called as ethical dilemma. So here, NGOs are fighting for saving of this banyan trees. They are saying that it is our heritage. On another side, if you're not increasing this length or the width of this road, obviously what happens? It will leads to increased accidents. So here, now we have a dilemma whether we have to save environment or whether we have to save the lives of the people. So this kind of situations are called as ethical dilemmas. And if you see what are the issues involved in this case, the first one is, we can see there is negligence from the government side. Yes or no? So government is not taking care of public safety, road safety, and as well as saving of lives. That is a one ethical issue we can see. And even lack of duty of care also, because if you are having substandard road infrastructure, can we ensure proper trade, can we ensure proper movement, can we ensure proper safety of the people? No, right? So here we can see that this incident is one example of failure of policy here. And next one here is, as you all know that recently Telangana state government introduced one scheme called as Mahalakshmi scheme. Under that scheme, women, they are having this free RTC bus facility, right? They can travel within our Telangana state with just carrying one Aadhaar card as a proof of identity, everything. So what happened in this incident? 19 were died, right? So mostly many people were women here. So here, who are vulnerable? Women are more vulnerable in this kind of bus accidents, guys. And next one here is dignity of dead. So Article 21 talks about what? Life of right to life or life and personal liberty, right? So this is Article 21. That means not only the people who are having life can enjoy this Article 21, but at the time of the death also they have this right to dignity actually, which comes under Article 21, which mainly told by the Supreme Court itself. Supreme Court said that dignity of death is also very important. It comes under Article 21 of Indian Constitution. So can we maintain dignity of death if we are having this kind of sudden unwanted incidents? So even the bodies are not getting out, right? Even if you take this bus accident of AP, what happened for the bodies of this dead? So they were like burned, and even they were beyond identifying. So if you are having that kind of death, can we ensure Article 21? No. Again, this is one also ethical issues. We can understand that transporting bodies in tractors, they are transporting body in tractors, even not available of ambulances in that time, and even they are using JCBs to remove that gravels and to identify the bodies. Have you seen this news clips in the news? Then you can identify how deadly the incident is. And even certain images in the Google, like a woman, she is holding her baby, around 10 to 12 months baby. So you can identify how deadly the situation was. And even one story is one like for example, three women or three girls from a single family died. An entire family people, they lost their life. So like that, if you see the story of one dead, so the story is different from one another, right? So that kind of dignity of dead we are not able to provide if this kind of unwanted situations happens in our country. And next one here is, as we all know that, as I said, in that area we have quarries, and many a times this heavy duty vehicles will go. will be operated in that region. So many a times, whatever the load they have to take, they will go for carrying of extra load. So always they will try to violate this restrictions, or whatever the provisions are there, they will be violating this. Why? Because they will give corruption, they will do probity, whatever it has happened. So it is also one important ethical dilemma that we can take. Corruption is also happening on this road. Okay, so here there is a one solution. Actually, NGOs are saying that we have to go for conservation of this bunions, and they are saying that we have to take them and we have to translocate them in another area. But actually, they are very old. If you are removing from the ground, can they sustain in the another area? No. So for that, what is the solution? Recently, in 2020, Singapore came up with a model called as Singapore Tree Bank System. So this Singapore tree bank system is nothing but in Hyderabad also. If you see in this main Hyderabad city, so between the roads we will be having certain space. In that space we'll go for planting of trees. No, so in the same way, if we go for extension of this road to the from two-way to four-way, in between we can allot some area for this planting of trees. So this is called as Singapore tree bank model. So we can follow this. This model will helps to address urbanization. Because of rapid urbanization, increasing of vehicular pollution, increasing of air pollution, whatever it may be, we can control that by increasing of green cover even in these roads. So NGOs are fighting for that. We can use this model to focus on sustainable environment, guys. So in this way, you have to think everything. So here I said about what are the causes, what is about this highway project, why NGOs are fighting. I said about ethical dimensions. I said about even case study from other countries, how they are managing this kind of problems and how we can incorporate that to solve this issue, guys. So in this way, whatever the possible dimension is there, you have to think in all the ways. Clear? And say this article, guys, shift focus to nutrition security, Prime Minister tells scientists. So what is the keyword here? What is the keyword? Keyword is nutrition security. Okay. I'll tell you one concept. Please focus here. So till today, our government focused on what is this? Food security. So what is this food security? Food security is nothing but government has to provide enough food for the people of our country. So if you go back to 1947, what happened in 1947, guys? We got independence. At that time, we had lots of problems like very high poverty, famines during that time, and even there is no proper food production because before this 1947, India was under rule of Britishers. So whatever the policies British they came up in India, they implemented in India, that led to increased famines, that led to decreased agricultural productivity, and even soil infertility had been increased at a faster rate because of this introduction of which crop? Indigo crop, right? So because of this, what happened at that time of independence, we had lot of problems. So there is no proper agricultural productivity, there is no proper food security for our people. At that time, we used to import these food grains from other countries, that too low grade, low quality food grains that we used to import from other countries. And later on, what happened in this 1960s, guys? 1960s, yes, we introduced the Green Revolution. So what is this Green Revolution? Now we started using high yield variety seeds and we are focusing on using of fertilizers and as well as irrigation. So three important things we focused on in this Green Revolution. First one is high yield variety seeds. Now we started using hybrid variety seeds, not this traditional seeds. And second one is fertilizers. What are the examples of fertilizers that you know? You know about urea, DAP, right? So those are the fertilizers. And apart from that, we focused on irrigation, building of tanks, canals, etc. And we started providing enough water to the crops. So because of this Green Revolution, what happened? That led to increasing of agricultural productivity in our country, and we ensured food security for our people, and even we started exporting of this food grains to other countries. From importing stage to we went into this exporting stage only because of this Green Revolution. And in which regions we introduced this Green Revolution? Punjab, Haryana and Western UP regions. Okay. And now what happened? We are focusing on food security. And after once we got this agricultural productivity, and government came up with the system called as, what is this? PDS. What is this PDS? Public distribution system. That is nothing but simply your ration shops. So what government is doing under this ration shops, every month, if you are having a ration card, normally we'll call white card, pink card, yes or no? If you are having this white card, you will be getting subsidized food grains. And what will you get? Rice. In south region, they will provide rice. In north region, they will provide wheat. So what is the staple food? Based on that, they are going to get the food grains at a subsidized price. So what is the price that you are getting in the state of Telangana? Free of cost? Yes or no? There's no need of paying money, no? Are you paying money? No? Okay, so government came up with this PDS system and government started providing subsidized food grains. And in 2019, what happened? COVID-19 pandemic. At that time, what is the scheme government came up with? Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Anna Yojana. Have you heard this? So in 2019, government came up with this Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Anna Yojana. So under that, government started providing food grains for free of cost for the people who have this ration card. And it is still continuing in state of Telangana, but I don't know about other states. So think about your states like AP, Karnataka, guys. Okay, so now we are focusing on ensuring of food security. Government is providing enough food grains, but there is a problem here. So what is the problem? We are providing what? For example, let us take rice. Rice contains what? Carbohydrates. Is that carbohydrates only enough for maintaining of our nutrition? If you want to get the balanced diet, we need carbohydrates, we need fats, we need proteins, we need minerals, vitamins, we need micronutrients and as well as macronutrients. So if you want to get the balanced diet, what are the food we are taking? It should have the mix of macronutrients and micronutrients. What are macro? Macro means carbohydrates, fats and proteins. Micro are minerals, vitamins. Is government providing all those things under this scheme? Only it is providing what? Carbohydrates. And what about these other things? No. So even though government is providing food grains, even though it is helping the people to come out of hunger, but it is causing one more hunger called as hidden hunger. Hidden hunger. So what is this hidden hunger? It is nothing but micronutrient deficiency. Okay, so through this PDS system or Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana, so government is providing only carbohydrates, not entire micronutrients. That is causing micronutrient deficiency in people. That concept is called as hidden hunger. So if you're not taking micronutrients, what happens? We have vitamin deficiency diseases. We have even mineral deficiency diseases. If you're not taking enough amount of iodine, enough amount of sodium, enough amount of iron, what happens? Will you maintain proper good health? No. That concept is called as hidden hunger. Now come back to this article and read the title, guys. Shift focus to nutrition, says our Prime Minister. Now our Prime Minister says that, okay, till today we did very good, well done in food security. Now let us focus on nutrition. Is that statement right? Yes. So from which subject we can say this? In your science and technology, you'll be studying about these diseases. In your society, you'll be studying about diseases faced by women, vulnerable sections, and even in your GS paper 3 also, economy also, we can connect this, guys. And government is coming up with this scheme, so it is important from your governance point of view. In this way, you have to connect all the dots. Don't just read the title. Clear? Okay, now let us see the context. Prime Minister inaugurated first Emerging Science, Technology and Innovation Conclave 2025. So in this conclave, he made one statement. He said that, yes, we need to have a shift from food security to nutrition security. What is this food security? Ensuring calorie sufficiency. To focus on nutrition security. That is nothing but we have to focus on nutrient dense biofortified food so that we can combat micronutrient deficiencies. Okay, so he said something in his speech. Let us see what are the highlights of his speech. So first point he said is we have to address this hidden hunger. Please make a note, it is a keyword. Hidden hunger is nothing but micronutrient deficiencies. How we can overcome from that problem? We have to focus on biofortified crops. That means we have to focus on GM, genetically modified crops. In the crops itself, for example, if you're growing rice, so have you seen that one movie I movie? One. Okay, in that one movie, in the conclusion, they'll say that they came up with golden rice. Have you heard this word golden rice? So golden rice is nothing but the rice which is having heavy or very high amount of vitamin A. So because normally, have you seen this carrot? Carrot is very rich in this vitamin A. What is the color of the carrot? It is orange in color. So in the same way, normally what is the color of rice that we'll eat? White color. So if you're adding vitamin A through this genetically modification, then the color of the rice will be changing towards white plus orange mix. It will be like light golden yellow color. So the name what is given for that rice is golden rice. So we have to go for biofortification, improving of nutrients, improving of minerals and vitamins in the crops itself. That is the first thing which mainly said by our Prime Minister. And next one, he said that we have to go for low cost soil health enhancers. So whatever the soil enhancers like fertilizers we are using, that is like high cost, and actually government is giving lots of subsidy on that so that it will be affordable for the farmers. So rather than that, our Prime Minister is saying that rather than using of chemicals, let us use this biofertilizers or organic fertilizers or natural fertilizers for our crops, so that we can also minimize the impact on the health of the people. And next one here is our Prime Minister also said that we have to go for mapping of Indian genomic diversity, like in which area, so which kind of genetic diseases are there in the people. If we're identifying that, we can address that problem by providing nutrition. That is the second point. And this one is they said that we have to go for affordable clean energy storage systems, and we have to focus on advanced batteries so that we can support the sustainable agriculture. So recently we made one advancement in agriculture. Rather than using of diesel engines, we are moving towards solar power irrigation, right? In the same way, we have to go for using of clean energy rather than using of fossil fuels in this agriculture, so that we can make our agriculture more sustainable. And he also said that we have to launch support mechanism as well, like we have to focus on research development innovation under this ANRF fund, that is Anusandhan National Research Foundation, and we have to go for doing of research in this kind of sustainable energy in this agriculture. Okay, and we have to ensure even public private partnerships. So those are the things which mainly said by Prime Minister in his speech in that meet. Okay, so what are the key reasons? And please make a note, whenever writing answers you have to write the data, guys. So why we have to move from this food security towards nutrition security is, in India there is very high malnutrition rate. Especially National Family Health Survey 5 says that 35.5% of children under 5 years are stunted. What is the meaning of stunted? They will be having low height to the age. So whatever the age, their height will not match at all. And next one is 19% were wasted. Wasted is nothing but to their height, whatever the weight they have to maintain, they won't weight this. They don't maintain that weight related to this wasting. 90% of children are wasted and underweight. So whatever the weight they should have according to their age and as well as height, normally they won't maintain that. So why this happens? Because of nutrient deficiency, guys. So because of this, we have to focus on providing of proper nutrition. And especially even one more data that you have to remember that should be in your mind is, India is having 1/3 of the world's malnourished children. If you take entire world, entire globe, India is having 1/3 of malnourished children. So you can see the fate of our future Indians. Yes or no? Today's children are tomorrow's citizens. So you can see what is the fate. 1/3 are like malnourished. If they are not having proper nutrition, can we ensure proper future for them? No. Again, what about our India in the future after 20 or 25 years? We will not achieve our goals and targets, right? And next one here is Global Hunger Index also says that India's rank is 102 out of 123. Again, see, India is having a very low ranking regarding this hunger. This is also like one thing which always pushes that yes, we have to take certain steps in nutrition. And next one here is rural urban disparities. There are differences between rural areas and urban areas still persist in India, and even gender bias is happening and low dietary diversity. There is no complementary feeding also. And next one is climate impacts on agriculture is also increasing this kind of issues, and even there is increasing of obesity. What is obesity? Increasing of fat deposits and as well as weight very fast rate. Why? Because of consuming of fast foods, junk foods, and even irregular deposition of fats in certain areas like that. And this one here is malnutrition will lead to the 4% of GDP annually because of decreasing of low productivity in the people. So if you're not having proper nutrition, can you work properly? So if you're having the proper diet and if you're made in the proper health, you can work for minimum 8 hours per day. So then what happen? Your efficiency, your productivity will be obviously more. If India is having 1/3 of malnourished children, will it have impact on our future GDP? Yes. Even today also it is having around impact of 4% of GDP on our country, guys. And here you have to think about how government is focusing on nutrition. So we have to see about the schemes related to government. So already government came up with this scheme called as Poshan Abhiyan. So in this Poshan Abhiyan, government is focusing on maternal and as well as child health. And second one is PM Poshan. This one is different. PM Poshan is focusing on midday meals program and as well as Pradhan Mantri Poshan Shakti Nirman. And because of micronutrient deficiency, we'll get one common disease called as anemia. Anemia is nothing but low hemoglobin level. So for that, we have Anemia Mukt Bharat. Under that scheme, government will be providing chikkis, you know, this peanuts plus jaggery related things, especially for adolescent girls, especially in these government schools, and even iron supplements for women. And this one is pulses mission. Government is trying to improve the pulses, which will be ensuring protein for the people. And next one is we have ICDS, that is Integrated Child Development Services, and as well as Saksham Anganwadi. So these are the schemes which are related to this nutrition in India. Okay, so your work is try to get some details and read about that schemes. I think I already said in your society class, and again once again revise all those things. And see this article, very important topic of the day. Title says Great Nicobar Project. Map ready for denotification of tribal reserve. So what is this article talking about? What is the keyword? Great Nicobar Project. First we have to see the location. So here what we have? Himalayas. Here we have Patkaivam, Purvanchal, and here we have Andaman and Nicobar. Andaman and Nicobar are the important islands located in which sea? Bay of Bengal, not Arabian Sea. It is in Bay of Bengal. We have this Andaman and Nicobar Islands, and they are nothing but the extension of our Himalayas. Okay, so upper part is Andaman and lower part is Nicobar. Actually, our government is planning to come up with an ambitious project that is called as Great Nicobar Project in this Nicobar Islands. So it is the southern part of Andaman and Nicobar Islands. So under this project, what government is planning is, one is transshipment port, one is airport, greenfield airport, and next one is development of infrastructure, road, railways there, and we want to go for development of hotels, restaurants, etc. Okay, in this area. Okay, so the problem here is this Andaman and Nicobar is having which kind of forest? Evergreen forest, and again we have to go for cutting down of lots of trees in this region. It is one cause of concern. And second one here is we have rich biodiversity here, especially leatherback turtles and some animals are there here. So if you're going for development projects, obviously that will destroy their habitats. And third important reason here is Andaman and Nicobar is very much famous for the tribal people. So in Nicobar we have Nicobaris, and if you see the tribal people here in this both Andaman and Nicobar, we have Andamanis, we have Jarawas, we have Ong tribes, we have Sentinelese, we have Nicobaris, and we have Shompen. So like that we have different tribal groups. If we are going for development here, whoever the tribers who are living in this region, we have to go for this location, or we have to go for rehabilitation, relocation, everything. So can we ask them easily to go from here? Will they go? They are living from centuries together there, and they had good attachment with their environment, and they have good knowledge about that region, everything, right? So if we want to ask them to leave that place, first whatever the tribal reserve which had been identified by our government of India, we have to go for removing of that tribal reserve from the list. That process is called as denotification of tribal reserve, guys. Clear? So now we came up with entire map of the tribal reserve in that region, where we are going to have this Great Nicobar project. And the first step here is we have to denotify this tribal reserve, and now government came up with this process called as denotification of tribal reserve. So because of this is in news. Clear? So now let us see in detail. Great Nicobar Island Development Project is normally called as Nicobar Mega Project, and we are going for infrastructure development. And who came up with this project? Are Niti Aayog. Then why we came up with this project? Actually, we want to go for increase of tourism in this region, and we have to go for increasing of trade by using this Nicobar, and we have to go for construction of a port, so that we can enhance the movement of this ports, etc. And next one here is, it will be helpful for our contribution to our GDP, right? So if you want to get that status of developed nation, obviously we have to go for developmental projects like this. And especially to increase our surveillance in this Indian Ocean region, this location is strategically very important for our country. So these are the main reasons why we are going with that Nicobar project. Okay, so here what we are going to have in this Nicobar project, first one is transshipment port, next one is airport, that is aviation, next one is we are also going to have a power plant there. So from where we will get power plant there. And next one is we are focusing on urban development, hotels, restaurants, etc. Over 30 years we have to stay there. So that is about this project. And what is this denotification of a tribal reserve? It is nothing but the official process of removing or altering the protected status of a land designated to a tribal reserve. So what are the land which we designated as a tribal reserve, and we are going for removing that officially from that list. This process is called as denotification of tribal reserve. So if you do that, then only we can go for displacement of this tribal people from that area, or else we can't legally. Okay. So why we came up with these tribal reserves? So tribal reserves are the areas which are set for indigenous community, especially this all these tribal people in this Andaman and Nicobar, except this Nicobar is your PVTs, particularly vulnerable tribal groups, right? So especially to save their culture, for their economic and territorial rights, we came up with this announcement of tribal reserve. But we are now going to denotify them for this project. Okay. So here you have to know about one important act, guys. Please make a note of that. That is Andaman and Nicobar Lands Protection of Aboriginal Tribes Regulation Act of 1956, which mainly prohibits the non-tribals to enter into that reserves without permission. Denotification requires amendment to this regulation via Ministry of Home Affairs and presidential notification. Now, via this Ministry of Home Affairs and presidential notification, they are going to come up with the change to this act, and they are going to denotify this tribal reserves. So it is very, very important, guys. It will be like a value added point in your answers. Okay, now let us see the next article. Anyone from Kerala region? I think online students are there many. Kerala, Tamil Nadu, many are there. Okay, see this article, guys. Heavy metals found in Kaveri fish. Study advises reducing consumption. So Kaveri is one important river in our south, Peninsula River. So can anyone tell me whether it is west flowing river or east flowing river? Okay, if you see the river systems in our country, we have two types of river systems. Yes. So here we have Himalayas, And whatever the rivers which are coming from this Himalayas, they are called as Himalayan river system. So here we have river Indus, river Ganga, river Brahmaputra. Apart from that, in this peninsula part, we have other rivers, right? So here we have Godavari, Krishna, here we have Kaveri, and here we have Narmada, Tapi, Mahi, like that. So the rivers which are moving towards eastward, and if they are joining this Bay of Bengal, they are called as east flowing rivers. The rivers which are flowing towards west, and when they join this Arabian Sea, they are called as, yes, west flowing rivers. Kaveri, here it is located, right? So can anyone tell me what are the important tributaries of river Kaveri? Karnataka, guys. Kaveri river tributaries. Any idea? Anyone? Kaveri river tributaries. Every year there will be at least 2 questions in your prelims regarding this rivers, guys. Every year. And if you're perfect about this river, whether it is east flowing or west flowing, and next you have to say about tributaries. Whenever you are saying tributaries, if this river it is moving in this direction, if small branches which are coming and joining in this way, this will become right bank tributaries and they will become left bank tributaries. So if UPSC wants to confuse you, they may ask which of the following are the right bank tributaries of river Kaveri, which are the left bank tributaries of Kaveri. So like that you have to clear cut make the notes. So all these rivers, either Himalayan rivers or peninsular rivers, your notes should be not more than 3 pages, guys, and your notes should be in this box format, because from the rivers they will ask notes only from this facts only, right? So you have to note down the river name, and next you have to see the source where it started, and next you have to see in which states it flows, and you have to see important major dams on that rivers, and next you have to see right bank tributaries and left bank tributaries, guys. So if you are making notes for your Himalayan and Peninsula river system notes on this way, you will get for sure. You can do 2 questions out of the 2 questions for sure, guys. Last year there was a question on dam on this Tungabhadra river, and they asked about which river. So every year they will be asking question. Before year in 2023 or 2024 they asked about Indus river system. So you have to be very much clear about this, and even you have to make the diagrams whenever river it is moving like this, in which area they are coming and joining. So especially in 2023 the question was based on this Satluj, Ravi, Chenab, which is the major only tributaries which is joining this river Indus, like that. So you have to be very much careful regarding the map also regarding that river. Okay. Yeah. Now let us see this article. So actually this article is saying that there is increasing of pollution in this Kaveri. So can you guys tell me what are the important sources of pollution in these rivers? Online students, tell me in the comment box. Industrial pollutants or industrial effluents. Next. Plastic. Next one is poultry wastage. Next. Sewage. Drainage. Yes. Next. Okay, so actually what is happening here is there is increased heavy metals. So do you know which are the heavy metals? In metals also we have light metals and heavy metals, no? So actually this article is saying that there is increased heavy metal contamination in this river Kaveri, and recently they studied the fishes in this river Kaveri, guys. And this research had been published in one journal called as Environmental Earth Sciences. And they said that there is increased pollution in this river Kaveri, and even fishes will be living in this water, right? So because of this, what is happening, there is accumulation of this heavy metals in the meat of the fish, and they found, please make down the note, that is chromium, cadmium, copper, lead and zinc. Chromium, cadmium, copper, lead and zinc. Chromium, cadmium, copper, lead and zinc. So they found that the accumulation of heavy metals in the fish tissues, and in the water we have different types of fishes, right? Some will be like big, some will be like small, and different names we'll give, no? So based on the species of fishes, the level of accumulation of this heavy metal is changing from fish to fish, from species to species, the thing they said. But what happens if you are consuming this heavy metals? Is this heavy metals good for your health? For sure they are not. So they said that if you are consuming this fish which is having high heavy metal concentration, it may cause even cancers. So here they gave warning that you have to control the consuming of this fish. You have to control the taste. That is the thing which mainly said, guys. Okay, so how can you use this article? So river pollution is there in your syllabus or not? Pollution of water, water pollution. So there you can add this article as an example or a case study that because of this pollution, accumulation of heavy metals happening in the fish tissues, that will lead to increased risk of cancer in humans. The study which has been done in Kaveri fishes. Okay. So now here you have to say about some facts regarding river Kaveri from your geography point of view. And see this article, Women's World Cup. The World Cup win came after a long struggle and on and off the field. So for the first time, we got this Women World Cup. It is an example of women empowerment, guys. So here you may get question in your essay, and even directly in your prelims also you will get question regarding Women World Cup in cricket. There is a tendency, guys. So actually, before last year there was a question regarding chess championship. So now this year you may get question regarding women cricket. So you have to focus on this. Keep star mark for this, guys. I'll give you some certain facts, so please make note of that facts. So India created history by winning Women's Cricket World Cup 2025 by defeating South Africa. They'll also ask which country they defeated. India versus South Africa. And you boys, you know everything about this, right? And this ICC Women's Cricket World Cup is a premier one-day international championship for women. And for once in how many years we'll be having this? Once in 4 years, not 5 years, once in 4 years. How many overs they'll be having? 50 overs. And the qualification will be determined by, please make a note, qualification of players will be determined by ICC Women Championship and World Cup qualified tournaments. You may get that question in the statements. And if you see the origin and the history of this Women World Cup, it started in year 1973 in England. It is not at all new. But everyone, majorly many people are thinking that for the first time we had this Women World Cup. Never ever we heard that. But it started in year 1973. But since then, now in this 2025, that is almost how many years? After 50 years only, no? After 50 years, how many matches were happened? 50 by 4? Around 10, 50 by 4, 12. Now we got this World Cup. So who will organize this? International Women's Cricket Council will organize this. And if you see in this World Cup, Australia is dominant. Australia wins 7 times. England won 4 times. New Zealand 1 time. And India, for the first time, we won this match. And India hosted many a times this Women's World Cup in 1978, 1997, 2013 and 2025. So what is significance of this achievement, guys? From history onwards, we have a strong stigma regarding women. Women are fit for only cooking and taking care of children. But now this is an example that women can excel in any field. Girls, you can proudly say about this. And next one is women's cricket empowerment. It is a major milestone for women's sports in India. So it will inspire the greater participation of others also to enter into this field. And this one is it can enhance our India's image as a leading global host of major sports events, and even India can showcase its power related to women empowerment in India, guys. Okay, so these are the important topics that happened in our today's Hindi newspaper. By this I'm concluding. Thank you so much, guys, for watching, and please do like this class and share this class. And please do subscribe to this channel, and you can follow us on our Telegram channel where we are providing notes of this class, and as well as in Instagram page we are providing prelims question with answer and mains question with model answer and also current affairs in charts. So don't miss that. All these links are given in description box.